Welcome to the Zacks Roundtable Review, a discussion of current events affecting investors as well as other topics of financial interest, featuring the analysts and editors of Zacks.com. Earnings are a market catalyst once again, and we're going to get a read on what's going on with earnings effect on stocks as we talk with our research director Shiraz Mian and equity strategists Tracy Reinick and Todd Bunton. Tracy, what do you think? You've seen some of the Q4 reports come in up to this point. Earnings going to be a wild card for the stock market this time?
Yes, I think so. It hasn't been real good, but there have been some glimmers of hope in there. Mm-hmm. And I've been watching a lot of the multinationals because I feel like, we need to see what's going on in Europe, China, these other areas. And it has been encouraging news out of Europe for several of the companies so far. Mm-hmm. A lot of them have been saying they're seeing stabilization or some kind of, flatlining there. It's been awful there for a while, several years. So to have it even stabilize is good news. And they're all, that I can see so far, are predicting pretty good things for North American market. Of course, it depends on what kind of industry you're in. The retailers, it's been awful so far. But some of the industrials and these other bigger companies, it's not as bad as what people think.
So Shiraz, you think that investors now, for the first time in a long time, have no option but to pay attention to fundamentals once again?
Well, for a long time, those that have been paying attention to what I've been writing, and I'm not assuming there's a lot of them out there, but I've been saying for a while that once you take the Fed and the Fed support out of the equation, then everybody will need to go back to fundamentals. And a key fundamental is earning. And on the earnings front, for a very persistent trend that we have seen over the past year and a half or so, is this steady downtrend in estimates. And we are strong believers in estimate revisions, and the disconnect has been that the market's been trending this way while estimates have been going down. So now that the Fed is going out of the equation, everybody has to come back and take a good look at the earnings picture, and the earnings picture over the last 5-6 quarters hasn't been good. Companies have been consistently guiding lower. The expectation has been in the market that 2014 and 15, that picture will improve if what Tracy is referring to comes true, and the stabilization in Europe and the not so bad picture in Europe, in China, right, starts stabilizing and anchoring these expectations, then it will be a good thing. But I'm not as hopeful as she seems to be. Yeah.
Todd, we've had some positive economic data points lately that everybody seems to be focusing in on. If those data points continue to be positive and earnings turn out to be more toward the positive side, are those two factors going to be enough to propel stocks to even higher highs?
Yeah, they absolutely could. But the big question is, will those factors be good enough? But as Shiraz pointed out, last year was all about QE and the Fed, and the market kind of ignored fundamentals. But like we've been saying, there's going to be a focus more on fundamentals this year, not just earnings, but economic data. But if you look at that last jobs report, it was pretty awful. I mean, that was the lowest, I think, since January of 2011 for number of jobs gained. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not exactly confident that the economic data and earnings are going to be good enough to propel stocks. So you see the market kind of in this wait-and-see approach right now. And there's no January effect where historically stocks have risen in January. Market's just kind of iffy right now in terms of fundamentals. And that's kind of what Shiraz pointed out to last year. It was that there was no good fundamental reason for stocks to go higher. It was just, multiple expansion because of the Fed. But now that that's gone away, it's going to be a lot tougher for stocks to make gains this year.
Yeah, I was going to get around to that January effect thing. Iffy market, Tracy, you agree with that too, right, as far as the January effect?
Yeah. It's been interesting. I definitely agree with Todd that we're in this pause in the rally. Like, we're waiting to get some kind of impetus higher, maybe impetus lower. Europe's been rallying. Maybe that'll be the impetus higher. I don't know. But we're in the pause. The rally isn't over, but it's a wait and see.
So if we want to go, if we want to pay attention to folklore, then we have to set our sights on the Super Bowl effect.
Right. Well, I've already
Right.
switched to look at that. Yeah.
All right.
So I
So
just wanted to make one point to the improving economic fundamentals. A big driver for growth on the earnings front throughout the cycle, since the cycle started in 2009, has been on the margin side. So companies were really good with controlling costs that expanded their margins. We haven't really seen much top line gains. If these hopes of economic growth comes through, and you get the top line gains, that'll show up in the in earnings growth as well. But it's not clear at this stage if we will get there.
what about earnings? You pay probably the most attention of any of us here to earnings on a quarterly basis. What has to be the earnings picture for earnings to help stocks higher?
Guidance. The persistent trend, as I referred to earlier, has been that the majority of companies have been guiding lower. And what needs to happen is some change in that trend. We don't necessarily need to start seeing upgrades to guidance all of a sudden, but at least if we see the estimates for the back half of 2014 starting to hold up, I think that'll be a positive sign. And if more companies start referring to these factors that Tracy was referring to earlier, that will exactly do that. So you will have estimates for 2014 holding up, and that'll be positive for the market.
So then if the guidance comes in more toward the negative side, might that be enough to knock stocks off their highs?
I think so, yeah. I think if we see continuation of the trend that we've been seeing and estimates keep coming down and the Fed is moving away, then what should keep the rally in place?
You guys feel that way too?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, seems to be unanimous consensus. We'll leave it on that note then. And coming up in the next segment, these kind people have been nice enough to provide some stock picks for the week. So click on over.